violated the copyright, even though that playlist says that it's copyright-free music. So that's really frustrating. YouTube really needs to come up with some sort of solution for live streamers to work on videos and whatnot. Hopefully you guys can come back soon. I don't know how accurate this is for people viewing right now. So let me check a few more things. Sorry. The whole live stream thing with the copyright music is such an annoying thing and totally bullshit in my opinion. Like if you want people to live stream and you want them to be able to have like background music on or something, they should be able to have it. All right, switching over now. Testing. Okay. All right, so we're back. Sorry about that. We just got basically yelled at from YouTube not to use music, I guess. Oops, sorry, is that Louis in the shot? Okay. All right, just checking now. Testing. Okay. Sorry about that. So basically what just happened was the YouTube bot algorithm thought that I was basically streaming copyright music even though the playlist is labeled as copyright-free music on Spotify. So that's really stupid and frustrating. So sorry about that. Let's get back to drawing. And if you guys have any questions or anything, definitely put them in the chat box here. I also don't know why the screen is so distorted right now. It looks really, really weird. It's like stretched out. So that's really strange. And it's just telling me to check a few things really quick. Yeah, it's all messed up. Everything's all stretched out right now. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Ugh, man. So one of the issues that I run into all the time with Streamlabs is the actual like screen quality and resolution. It like messes up the proportions of the screen and it's not how it should be. If that makes any sense. 1 second. Just trying to make sure everything looks good here. All right, there we go. So I'm just gonna bring this down in a little bit if that looks a little bit better. I don't know why it's so stretched out whenever I live stream. If anyone has a good like video I could reference in the future for live streams, please let me know. I don't know why it's not fitting to the full screen like it is over here. There's just something wrong with the there's always something wrong with this. Every time I try to stream, it's just something goes wrong on YouTube. It's the most aggravating thing. All right, fuck it. I'm just gonna draw. Sorry again. It's gonna be silent because apparently I can't use copyright-free music in live streams, and for some reason it's the proportions of my video look ridiculous right now. Alright, that's that. Yeah, it's like making a weird square. It doesn't even use the full screen. Alright, whatever. Sorry again. So that the drawing is going to look weird and stretched out because I don't know what's wrong with this screen. Alright. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the what I was sketching. It looks like we got 4 people still viewing, so thank you for sticking around with the technical difficulties included. It just seems to happen every time I try to live stream. There's always something that goes wrong. It never seems to go right. It's really aggravating. So doing 40 hours this week of streaming is going to be a true test of my ability to work under aggravated stress. So it might not be the best thing, but we're going to see if we can survive through it. And what I'm doing now is I'm just drawing a traditional rose, classic tattoo flash. I've drawn a million of them at this point to know what I like and what I dislike in traditional roses. And it's usually the thing that throws me off the most is leaves. I always go back and forth about the ones that I like the style of, or the opening of the rose, or like the overall body and shape of it. And some of them I just can't stand the look of, like these really traditional roses with that weird kind of little half S shape on the top here, like that little line there. I do not like how those look personally. I don't like how they look. I know it's more of like what a rose would look like if you were to do an interpretation of it. If you don't really have a rose to reference, that's the easiest way to do it. I personally prefer the style that I do, which is like the circle, you have the line through it, and this is definitely more graphic, and it's like the two offshoot leaves, and it's like the weird opening like this, which is more like a peony, which is my personal favorite flower. And then it's got rose elements in it, so it's got that weird kind of opening, which is sort of like the weird X. I personally prefer how those look, but we're going to stick with this traditional one. And also, if you guys want to add suggestions for things that you think I should be drawing or doing studies of for the 40-hour stream this week, let me know. I'm not really sure what to do, what not to do yet. And sorry, I'm just trying to make sure everything's still working. Let's see. All right, it says it's working. Cool. All right. So yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to mainly do studies, and I'm going to just try to have fun and draw whatever. But the things you want to see me draw in my style, or just like things that you think would be cool to watch someone draw and do studies of, or if you want to do studies of something, if you're trying to draw along, let me know. And sorry for the bad connection and the drop in frames. The streaming setup I have is not the greatest. I'm actually streaming the video feed from my iPhone. So it's an app I'm using to actually stream it. It's terrible. It's not the greatest thing. All right, so there might be some buffering as well. It's telling me now. I'm sorry about that. I think that's something that has to do with the app and my connection here. It's just not the greatest. Why is it called Wolf Pits? Okay, so Wolf Pits was actually going to be the name of a graphic novel I wanted to do about the hardcore scene, the hardcore music scene growing up, and it was just going to be called The Wolf Pit. And when I was searching for Instagram names and handle names, my personal name, which is Ryan Taft, is used by a bunch of other people that have larger followings, or at the time had large followings, internet presences when I really first started out. So draw some catfish, I can do that. But sorry, back to the wolf pits thing. I basically decided to kind of go with it. So I was going to do the wolf pit, and that was already taken by some random person who doesn't even use Instagram. And then I was like, all right, like I still want to kind of keep that name. And wolf pits sort of just became the thing. And everyone always thinks it's like wolf armpits, which is really funny to me because that's not what it is at all, but I'll take it. It's fine. Like if people think it's funny and they want it to be that, that's how they can view it. But that's not really what it came from. It came from doing like a weird graphic novel idea about doing a graphic novel about like the hardcore music scene and sort of like a fictionalized version of what was really happening with the amount of insane violence and things that was going on at local shows. But it wasn't going to be the main focus. It was just going to be about people's experiences at shows. So I wanted to sort of highlight the idea that people could share their personal stories sort of like in an anonymous way, and they could share how they experienced things at different shows. So it would be basically every issue would be, like a band cover or like a couple bands. I don't know. The idea was to basically like, if the bands were cool with it, I could use their likeness and whatnot to do the cover. And then people could tell the stories of what they experienced at that show. and that sort of thing. And then there was going to obviously be a fictional element of fully developed characters that are at these events, and like a whole plot and other things that would take reference from real life stories and then bits of fictional stories to kind of, you know, have a full on comic with like sort of a superhero ish vibe to it, but basically highlighting a lot of things that are good and bad in the world of hardcore music. But it just got to the point where I stopped going to shows myself because the amount of just absurdity that was going on at the time when I really had the original idea. And I've had this idea since I was in high school to really do this. And it's always been that name was the Wolf Pit. And that's just kind of how it stuck. My old Instagram handle was some dude named Ryan. And everyone thought I was the funniest thing ever because I just didn't give a shit about Instagram. And when it first came out, I thought it was really stupid. I didn't have an iPhone for a really long time while everyone else I knew had an iPhone. Just couldn't afford one. And then I eventually got a smartphone and got an iPhone not too long after that first smartphone, and just kind of got onto Instagram and ran with some dude named Ryan for a long time. And then I just hated it so much after a while because it was just how people started to refer to me in real life. Like they didn't know my real name, so they were just like, "Oh yeah, it's that some dude named Ryan." Like became how I was referred to for events and anything. Like even in my professional life, that's like how I was being referred to was some dude named Ryan. It was just like kind of annoying me, and I was just over it. So I changed it, and just haven't looked back since. And that's how the Wolf Pit's name came to be. So that's the story. It's kind of dumb. It's a long one. At least I made it a long one for no reason. But yeah, it was an old graphic novel name, and I decided to stick with it. And I've never made that graphic novel or comic. I've never had time to do it. I don't think I ever will, but that's what it comes from. Doing a catfish. I'm also thinking like weird, like cool. What does it say? Such cool looking creatures. Yeah,